What's that, Chauncey? You want me to tell people about the new movie Imaginary? All right, let's talk about that now. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Your Past. I'm here to talk to you about Imaginary, which is coming to theaters on March 8th, 2024. It is a new horror film from Blumhouse. You know them, they do a lot of horror movies. This one is kind of being dropped at the start of March. It also was a cold open, so there were no screeners for it. Usually not a good sign, and it is not a good sign. My hot take is I think you should pass on it. Look, it's a good concept. I really love the idea of it, but the movie itself kind of barely offers anything for a horror fan. It's not very scary. The monster is a little ridiculous, and just overall, it is just not a very good movie. So I definitely think you should pass on it. But that being said, I'm going to tell you about the film, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off when I get there. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So in Imaginary, you have Jessica who is moving back to her family home. Her father recently moved into like a retirement home. And so she and her husband and her two daughters are moving into their family home. But when she gets there, the youngest daughter, Alice, finds a cute little bear that, becomes her friend, starts giving her a lot of companionship. But some of that maybe starts turning a little sinister, and that leads to all sorts of revelations about the bear, the house, and Jessica's own childhood. So I'm gonna put my fake Chauncey down, and let's talk a little about the film. So things I liked about this movie. The first, look, I love the concept. An imaginary bear that is probably evil. I really like that. It's kind of a good, it plays on like the child's imagination, the kind of imaginary friends, the weird things that children do, some of the creepy things that children do. They just kind of let go because they're kids. It's a great concept. It's a great way to start a movie. The second thing I liked the practical effects when they were used. There were some gory scenes, not a ton though. It's PG-13, so it wasn't a ton of gore. There were some kind of bloody-ish scenes, and when they were used properly, hey, it contributed to it. So, all that being said, things I didn't love about this movie. The first, it's not very scary. Look, it's just not a scary film. There's not really a ton that makes you nervous. There's a few kind of things that appear in the background. There's a jump scare or two, but overall, this is not really a scary horror movie. Second thing I didn't love the start. It starts really bad. It starts in like a memory sequence that is confusing and also shows the monster, but the monster doesn't look very good at all. So it doesn't really start this movie off well. It is not a great way to start. I think it both shows too much and also doesn't really get you interested in the film. The third thing I didn't love, it's just some bad CG. There are some practical effects. I like them when they were used, but there's also some pretty bad CG as well. And a lot of that is related to the monster. Although I think the monster is a mix of practical and CG. I think in the very start it's CG, and that's a very poor way to start the movie. So it kind of goes back and forth as the film progresses. But when the CG is used, it does not look very good. The fourth thing I didn't love as much, I guess the explanation wasn't a great explanation. I'll go into that in the ending section, but you don't really get a satisfying reason for why this monster is there. And the last thing I didn't love, the monster itself. It's not scary looking. It's not really intimidating. It is much better when it is an imaginary monster when you actually see it because the reveal itself is not very good. But I'll tell you more about that in the ending section. So all that being said, Imaginary is coming to theaters on March 8th, 2024. I don't think you should check it out. I think you should pass on it. But if you do watch it, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'm going to go into the ending now. So if you don't know what happened to this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So, like I said, you've got Jessica who is moving into her childhood home with her husband and two daughters. This appears to be a fairly recent marriage because the daughters had another mother who is now in a like mental institution. So the husband remarried. There's some friction in that family being blended, and then there's also just kind of like some friction in the stuff that happens at the house, but she is trying to make it work. She is trying to kind of be the best mom that she can to these kids. Seems to be going great, especially when Alice finds this imaginary friend. She goes into the creepy basement, opens this like hidden door, which at first you don't know why she knows about this hidden door, but then you realize she's like hearing voices, I guess, from something. And she finds this cute, adorable little bear in this secret like murder room in the basement. And you're like, okay, now she has a friend. So she starts playing with this bear like it is her actual like friend, her imaginary friend. She's talking to it. Sometimes it seems like Chauncey is talking back. And Jessica thinks this is sweet. Jessica likes that Alice has a new friend. She likes that she is kind of having someone to interact with, even if it's imaginary. Jessica has a very good imagination, and it seems like Alice has that as well. And so she goes along with this, but then Alice starts doing some weird things. Like Chauncey, the bear's name is Chauncey. Chauncey starts giving her a scavenger hunt that if she does all these things, then Chauncey is going to take her to a special place that only they can go to. Again, cute, right? Until you think maybe it's a little bit more sinister. And some of the things on this list are fairly sinister. One of the things is like she has to find something that scares her, so she gets a bunch of bugs and puts it into this jar, and she's like picking bugs off of like fly paper. She finds some really big bugs, like a centipede, all in this jar. She has to find some things that she'll get in trouble for, so she like cuts up one of Jessica's pieces of art to put that in there, and then the final straw is she has to find something that will cause her pain, and so she pries off a board from the fence, sticks it down, has a nail, is about to like slap the nail with her hand, impale her hand. Jessica sees this. She pushes the board away at the end, and it just kind of nicks her. But this kind of starts making her worried because look, like, why would this imaginary friend want her to hurt herself? So because of this, Jessica calls Alice's old doctor, the doctor that was evaluating her before. She comes on out to this new house to check on her again. They start talking, and that is when Alice like starts talking about Chauncey, and the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, go ahead and talk to him." So she has a conversation with Chauncey, and it's like she's talking, and then she'll like do Chauncey's voice. And that's cute, but then you realize that Alice's lips aren't moving. So like the sounds are coming out of the bear. And then you also hear the conversation, and the conversation starts to get pretty like dark. And then it also like references something that the doctor, like in the doctor's life, like talking about the doctor's children, which there's no way that Alice would know about this. So this understandably spooks the doctor. So the doctor is talking to Jessica after, and they're talking about the imaginary friend, and Jessica mentions the bear Chauncey, and the doctor's like, "What bear?" And Jessica's like, "The bear, the bear that she's carrying around." And that is when the doctor shows her the videotape where you can see that the voices are coming, and Alice's lips aren't moving, so she's either a great ventriloquist or something else is causing the voices. And there is no bear. There is no bear. The bear didn't exist. It's like the Matrix. There is no spoon. There is no bear. So you see some scenes of Alice interacting with the bear, and she was just interacting with a fake imaginary bear, which I don't know. I think that would be scarier than like actually a haunted bear. Like if you see your child moving around and carrying this fake thing, that feels like that's more disturbing than if she had like a haunted bear that she was playing around with. But I guess the other members of the family didn't think anything of it. Jessica could see the bear. Alice could clearly see the bear. Taylor, the older daughter, who kind of sucks throughout the movie, she's terrible. Like she's very mean to Jessica. She's a teenager, so she's just terrible in general. But then she's also like especially mean to Jessica. She'll like yell at her for one thing and then ask her for help. And then when Jessica does help, she'll like yell at her again. Her character sucks. I think she's supposed to suck. That's why I didn't put it in things I didn't like as much. But anyways, Taylor couldn't see the bear. Presumably the father, before he went and left on this music tour. I guess he's a musician. You don't really ever know what he does. He just kind of like leaves on a tour, and that's when all this crazy stuff happens. He apparently couldn't see the bear. The doctor couldn't see the bear. So now we have this realization that Chauncey's imaginary, and like really imaginary, and maybe it's doing things that are not good. The doctor says, "Oh, this reminds me of a case from 10 years ago." And then she opens her laptop and pulls up this footage from 10 years ago. Like, I don't know how much storage she has, but if she's saving 10 years of footage on her laptop, like that is serious, serious storage that she's got. But I guess she just has it. So she pulls up this case from 10 years ago, and it's a kid talking about this like Randy Rabbit who's telling him to do things, and Randy made him cut off his thumb. So it seems like that list where that kid had to do something that hurt him, he cut off his own thumb. Alice was about to impale her hand on a nail. And the doctor says that the next week, that kid disappeared and was never seen again. So this understandably concerns the doctor and concerns Jessica, because when Jessica was younger, she abruptly left this house. Her father sent her away from this house to go live with her grandmother pretty randomly, and that's when her father's like kind of deteriorated. And so Jessica never really knew why. So it seems like maybe when Jessica was younger, she had some experiences with this bear. Something bad happened, caused her to leave, and now the same thing is happening to Alice. Now, the doctor leaves. Jessica decides to go like check on her art when she was younger and finds a bunch of bear drawings in her art and also the things that she would decorate her room with. She sees a lot of like this bear that she had just forgotten about, I guess. She was 5. I guess she forgot. I don't really remember anything that happened when I was 5, so I guess that's understandable. But she's going through all these pictures, like inking in her drawings to see what it says. When we just found out that there was like a dangerous imaginary threat to her daughter, her younger daughter Alice, and no one checks on her. I guess she's supposed to be asleep in her room, but like, I don't know, this bear can like cause you to hurt yourself and then take you to an imaginary world. Maybe they should check on her. No one does. And while this is happening, Alice apparently snuck down to the basement, went into the secret like murder room, painted a blue door on the wall, puts all the things that she, had to do, the something that'll get you in trouble, something that hurts, something that'll make you cry, lights them all on fire, and I guess a portal opens to this imaginary world. And no one else notices this because Jessica is painting stuff in her room, and I don't know, Taylor's being a teenager or whatever. But then they realize later, after Jessica realizes that there's all these bears in her paintings, she's like, "Oh, like where's Alice?" And Jessica and Taylor's like, "Oh, she was sleeping." And they go up, "Nope, she's not sleeping." They run around the neighborhood. They can't find her. Taylor gets upset about her because Jessica says that she thinks that her childhood imaginary friend is the same as this imaginary friend that Alice had. And Taylor is like, "What are you talking about? Like you're crazy. You literally just saw your little sister like playing with this imaginary thing and then disappearing, and this doctor showing you a video of this kid who cut off his finger and then he disappeared. I don't know, maybe that is not this crazy thing, but Taylor is mean. She gets mad at her. Jessica goes back to the house. She starts inking in her drawings to kind of get more clues, trying to figure out what she remembered as a child, because that might lead to some clues on how they can get Alice back. Taylor keeps going around the neighborhood. And Taylor runs into Jessica's old babysitter, who is this weird old lady who seems really interested in Jessica, sees Taylor, and starts telling her about this thing that happened when Jessica was younger. And I didn't love this. It felt like the babysitter was like a surrogate for like a narrator. She seems to fill in a lot about what happened with Jessica and also about this whole imaginary thing that happened. I guess it's necessary. I feel like they could have probably done this a little differently. But in any event, the babysitter tells Taylor about how when Jessica was younger, she would talk about her imaginary friend and how they were going to open a door into another world. And then one night, the babysitter actually saw this door open. Like she saw it open this door. Jessica wanted the babysitter to come with her. She didn't. And I guess that night consumed her. After this event, Jessica moved away. And we also find out later that her dad like went into the imaginary world, got her out, fought the imaginary monster bear thing, which also sometimes is the form of a spider and also is sometimes the form of like a shadow man. They're not really consistent. I didn't love that. It felt very kind of weird to have like an evil bear and then sometimes a spider and then sometimes this like shadowy character. But in any event, the dad like fought it off, I guess sacrificed his own sanity to get the thing to go away, and then he closed the door, sealed it up, and then sent Jessica away so that she wouldn't be taken by her imaginary friend, who I guess was rooted to this place. I don't know. I feel like if it's an imaginary friend, you just follow Jessica wherever she went. But I guess it liked being here, didn't want to leave. So Jessica left. The imaginary thing was left here. And the babysitter seems to know a lot about the imaginary world. She like writes books about like children, their imaginary friends, and she said that like all kids have imaginary friends. They're like entities that feed off the child's imagination, and eventually they like slowly, fade away into nothingness. But Jessica was apparently super imaginative, and so her imaginary friend was like feasting on all this imagination. And then when Jessica moved away really quickly, that like severed this food source and it left the imaginary friend sad and hungry. So it didn't just go away. I guess it just waited until another child came around to eat, I guess. So After Taylor realizes that maybe Jessica is telling the truth, the babysitter and Taylor go back to their house, and that's where Jessica is. She has filled in all the paintings when she was young. She knows the list of things they have to do, and so she starts gathering them. She gets everything together for the thing that causes her pain. She stabs herself with some scissors, which is very painful. But I guess that's not enough. When they burn that, it doesn't actually work. What Jessica actually has to do is she then confronts Taylor about how selfish she is and how terrible she is, and really berates her, which causes Taylor to be sad, but I guess it hurt Jessica more than it hurt Taylor. So that was something that caused her pain. I don't know. I think it would probably feel good if your daughter sucks and you just tell her off. I feel like that would feel good, but I guess it hurts her more than it hurts her kid. And that was the pain that caused the door to open up, and they go into this imaginary world. And the world itself is pretty cool. Like, admittedly, the world is really cool. It has like a bunch of weird rooms. It's got like weather features, like clouds in some. It's got like weird staircases. It's kind of like an MC Escher painting, I guess. And when they get there, they make sure to prop the door open so they can get out after they find Alice. Unfortunately for them, the babysitter goes and closes the door, and the babysitter is like, "Oh, I've wanted to come back here ever since. I was working with Chauncey. He's going to keep me in this imaginary world forever. We can do whatever we want." Again, not really a great explanation. Weird, turn for the babysitter. But the babysitter did seem to know a lot about this world. She would use as kind of like an avenue to explain about this weird imaginary thing. So I guess it works. But anyways, and that's when the babysitter goes too close to a door. A big, poorly done bare hand comes out, pulls her into the door closes, you hear screaming, and then you see blood coming up from the door. So I guess Chauncey used the babysitter to get in here and then just killed her. I don't know. Maybe the babysitter has imagination. Why can't he just feast off of her imagination? I guess he'd rather feast on her flesh. So eventually, in this imaginary world, they find a door for the husband, the two daughters, and the husband's first wife, their apartment in the city. And so they open it up, and inside it is just like they remember it, or at least just like Taylor remembers it. It's like a picturesque apartment. They go in, and in the back room, they see Alice, and she's so happy. She has presents everywhere. It's like a birthday party for her. She's wearing like a princess dress and whatnot. And Jessica's like, "It's time to go, Alice." It's like, "Why would I want to go? I have everything I need. I've got, presents. I've got food. I've got my family. I've got both my moms." And you're like, "What?" And that is when you see uh, Alice's biological mom there in like picturesque dress. She looks very kind of made up. Like, okay, that's weird. And Jessica says it's time to go, and she starts tearing up pieces of blue, I guess, to create a door. Because I guess this is an imaginary world. You can create a door. So she tears up all this blue stuff in the room, like a blue piece of paper, blue frosting, blue stuff, and makes essentially this like trash door, this blue door of trash that is supposed to be a portal out of here because the other door was blue. So I guess this is now a blue door. Now she doesn't have to do the ritual apparently. I don't know why. I think she would have to do the whole ritual to open it, but she makes this like trash door. And the fake mother, the first mother goes up to Alice and is like, "Why would you want to leave your mom?" And Alice is like, "I'm ready to go home," which is weird because she just said that why would she want to leave? But I guess now she is snapped out of this trance. She is no longer wearing this princess dress. She's wearing like her normal clothes. So maybe the like veil that Chauncey had over her eyes has fallen now that Jessica is here and is creating this trash door. That's when the first mother, her eyes turn into like Chauncey Bear buttons, and she looks like very much like the other mother from Coraline, which is a really great movie. If you want to see a weird like imaginary world movie, watch Coraline. Don't watch this. Coraline's fantastic. Any event, the other mother, gets these eyes, starts being sinister. She says, "You can't have her. She's mine." And then she transforms into Chauncey, the evil bear, which looks really bad. It's like overgrown and has like a big mouth of fangs and like big claws, but it really doesn't look very good. It looks like a large, I mean, I guess that's what it's supposed to look. It looks like a large stuffed bear with like fake claws. Jessica tells the kids, go through the door, and they go through the trash door. They're able to get out, and Jess closes the trash door to make sure that Chauncey can't get to them. Chauncey starts like making her fall through the floor, and Jess is like panicked, but then she stabs Chauncey with some scissors right before she falls through, and I guess breaks the spell, allows her to fall through the floor into the other part of the room where she hurts her ankle, but she's alive. The original door, the door that was closed by the babysitter, opens up, and that is where Taylor is. Taylor, I guess, was able to open the door. Maybe they did the ritual. You don't really know, but just hobbles over, jumps through, and escapes. They don't reseal the door. They don't kill Chauncey. That's it. They escape. And now we see a scene of the whole family in the assisted living facility with her dad. Jess is reading the new book to him, her new book that she just wrote. It seems like a picture perfect kind of day. Everyone's happy. Taylor is nice to her. She says, "I'm sorry I was so mean to you. I didn't realize how great you were." Alice, says, I love you, mom." And that's when you realize maybe it is a little bit too nice. And that is when you have this like sinister moment. I actually liked this. I liked this little twist here. Uh, Jessica looks and she's like, "I never left, did I?" And that's when, you hear Chauncey's voice saying, "You'll never leave. If you love them, you'll never leave. If you leave, I'll go get, Alice and Taylor." Um, so Jess is kind of stuck here. And that is when you see like the spider version of Chauncey. Like I said, I didn't love how there's never like a distinct Chauncey. Like sometimes he's this big lumbering bear. Sometimes he's a weird spider. Sometimes he's just like a shadow person, like a shadow man. Now it's the spider version, I guess. And it's, telling Jess that she can never leave. And that's when, boom, the spider thing is hit in the back of the head with a field hockey stick, and Taylor's there. Taylor hits him with a stick, grabs Jess. Apparently, they were able to open the door now. I don't know. Maybe they did the ritual then. At some point, they were able to open the door again, and really open the door, not fake open the door like her last vision. And they pull Jess through, and they close the door and start painting over the door because they can't leave the blue door because apparently that is how you open up magical portals. So they get this like 30-year-old paint that's been in this basement, and I guess it's still good. I don't know. I have paint that's like 5 years old. It's not good. So this must be fantastic paint. They open it up and start painting the door closed. But uh-oh, the door opens and the spider face thing that looks kind of like an alien now goes through, grabs her, tries to pull Jess back in, and that's when like its eyes start playing like pictures, I guess, like imaginary pictures to try to draw Jess in. And so Jess and Taylor are enthralled by this thing, but Alice isn't. Alice, I guess, has broken the spell. She sees the spider, and she, says that fire is magical because that's what Chauncey would tell her, that fire is magical. And so Alice lights a match, which is a big step because Alice was burned when she was a kid. You don't know why, but I guess she was burned. She had some scars on her arm, and so she'd always been afraid of fire. But when she sees her mother and her sister in trouble, she lights a match, lights some, I guess, paint thinner or something that had fallen on the ground. It burns, 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 burns up the spider thing. Doesn't hit Jess and Taylor, who are right next to the spider thing. They miraculously don't catch on fire. The spider thing catches all on fire, like flames everywhere. Taylor and Jess are able to get out. They're able to back away with no burns whatsoever. And then they see the house kind of just go up because, I don't know, I guess maybe the walls had oil. I don't know. But the house just kind of like goes up really quickly. They get out. The like roof starts to collapse. They get out of the house, and Taylor or Alice say something about like, we should stop the fire. And Jess is like, no, let it burn. So she burns her childhood house to prevent Chauncey from coming back, and I guess hurting other kids. I assume that they'll rebuild it. I assume that someone will be there, but who knows? Maybe they'll like demolish the basement completely and start from scratch. So this must have been a horrible week for the family. Like the dad leaves for like a week, and the youngest daughter gets kidnapped. The His wife breaks her ankle essentially and burns their house down. They go to like a secret place. Their next door neighbor's dead. Like what a week! But everyone survived. Everyone's happy. So Jess, Alice, and Taylor all go to a hotel, and they get there and they're looking for a room, and they see a kid talking to an imaginary bear. And he's like talking about essentially he's doing the same thing that Alice was doing, saying that the bear's hungry, that the bear wants something or other. And they're like, "Oh, we should go to the hotel." I'm like, yep. And as they're leaving, we get a closer look at that bear, and it's Chauncey. So it seems like either this or other imaginary entities are still around. They're still going to prey on kids, but not these kids. They beat Chauncey, spider or bear or shadow man, whatever he was. They beat him, they burn the house down, so they are all safe. And that's imaginary. During the credits, there isn't a stinger, but at the very end of the credits, they play like a Chauncey nursery rhyme that you hear through the movie. So it's a fun little end. But again, I don't think you should watch this movie. I think you should pass on it. But that's Imaginary. It comes to theaters on March 8th, 2024. And if you do see it, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. Let me know what I got right and wrong. I'd love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.